The War Council station floated in the darkness of space like a massive steel flower. Its 12 petals represented 12 alien races, all gathered for one purpose. They wanted to talk about destroying humanity. Captain Taewoo pressed his face against the energy barrier of his cell. He could see into the great council chamber below. Hundreds of aliens sat in curved rows, their strange bodies casting odd shadows under the bright lights. Some had scales, others had fur, and a few looked like they were made of living crystal. None of them looked human. Taewoo had been captured 3 weeks ago during a reconnaissance mission. His small ship had stumbled into a Vrelian patrol fleet. Now he was here watching his species get sentenced to death. The humans refused to surrender their colonies, said a tall alien with purple skin and 4 arms. His voice came out in clicks and whistles, but Taewoo's translator made it sound like normal speech. They deny our rightful claim to those worlds. Another alien stood up. This one looked like a massive insect with silver wings folded against its back. The humans are dangerous. They breed too fast. They spread too quickly. We must act now before they become a real threat. Taewoo felt his stomach turn. These creatures were talking about his people like they were pests to be exterminated. At the center of the chamber sat Supreme Overlord Krath Noon. He was a Vrelian, the most powerful of all the alien races. His body was covered in black armor that seemed to grow from his skin. Red eyes glowed from behind a helmet that looked like a skull. Everyone in the galaxy knew his name. Everyone feared him. Krath Noon raised one clawed hand. The council fell silent. I have reviewed the human question, he said. His voice was deep and cold. These creatures discovered faster than light travel only 200 years ago. They are children playing with weapons they do not understand. They have refused our generous offer to join the Galactic Order as a servant species. Therefore, they must be removed. Removed? Asked a small alien with tentacles where its mouth should be. You mean killed? I mean extinct, Krath Noon said. Not one human will remain alive. We will burn their worlds. We will destroy their ships. We will erase them from history. The council erupted in approval. Aliens clicked, buzzed, and roared their agreement. Taewoo watched in horror as they voted. Every single race voted yes. Humanity had just been sentenced to extinction. Far away on Earth, Commander Jiwoo stood in the war room deep beneath the planet's surface. Screens covered every wall, showing star maps, fleet positions, and casualty reports. Her uniform was crisp and clean, but her eyes were tired. She had not slept in 2 days. Commander, said a young officer, we're receiving the transmission from the Vrelian Empire. Put it on screen, Jiwoo said. Krath Noon's face appeared, filling the largest screen. Humanity has been judged and found wanting. You have 1 week to evacuate your colonies. After that, we will begin our assault. Surrender now and we will make your deaths quick. Resist and we will make your species suffer. The transmission ended. The war room was silent. Every person in the room knew what this meant. The alien fleets outnumbered humanity's ships by more than 200 to 1. Earth had maybe 50 warships that could fight in deep space. The Vrelians alone had 10,000. Get me the president, Jiwoo said quietly. And activate Protocol Valkyrie. Protocol Valkyrie was humanity's last hope. It was a plan created years ago, when the first contact with aliens had gone badly. Nobody had wanted to use it. Nobody had thought they would need to. But now they had no choice. The protocol was simple. If humanity could not win a war through normal means, they would win it through other ways. They would use tactics the aliens could not predict. They would fight dirty. They would do whatever it took to survive. Part of Protocol Valkyrie involved special soldiers, men and women trained to work alone behind enemy lines. They were given the worst missions, the impossible jobs, the tasks that no sane person would accept. Most of them did not come back. Lieutenant Yunwoo sat in the briefing room with 11 other soldiers. They were the best of the best, chosen from thousands of volunteers. Each one had skills that made them deadly. Each one had reasons to fight that went beyond simple duty. Hyunwoo was 28 years old. He had grown up on one of the outer colonies, a mining world called New Seoul. His parents had died when pirates attacked their transport ship. His younger sister, Bo-Ra, was the only family he had left. She was safe on Earth working as an engineer. He fought to keep her safe. Listen up, said the briefing officer. The Vrelians have declared war. They're sending their main fleet to hit our colonies first, then Earth. We can't stop them with conventional warfare, so we're going to do something unconventional. The screen behind him showed a star map with 12 targets marked in red. U-12 will be inserted into enemy territory. Your mission is to disrupt their supply lines, destroy their communication networks, and generally make their lives hell. You'll be working alone. No backup, no extraction. You succeed or you die trying. One of the other soldiers raised his hand. What are our chances? The briefing officer looked at him with cold eyes. Honestly? About 10% of you will survive longer than a month, but the chaos you create might buy Earth enough time to build more ships. Might give us a chance. Hyunwoo did not raise his hand. He did not ask questions. He simply studied the target assigned to him. It was deep in Vrelian space, a supply station that served as a hub for their military operations. The officer continued. You'll have access to our best stealth ships, our best weapons, and our best intelligence. After that, you're on your own. Any questions? Nobody spoke. Good, you deploy in 6 hours. Dismissed. As the soldiers filed out, Hyunwoo stayed behind. He walked up to the officer. I want a different target, he said. The officer frowned. Your assignment is final, Lieutenant. I don't want a supply station, Hyunwoo said. I want Krathnoon. The officer stared at him. That's suicide. The Supreme Overlord is protected by 3 fleets and sits in the most heavily defended station in the galaxy. Then he won't expect anyone to try, Hyunwoo said. They looked at each other for a long moment. Finally, the officer sighed. I'll pass your request up the chain, but don't hold your breath. 4 hours later, Hyunwoo received new orders. His target had changed. He was now assigned to hunt the Supreme Overlord himself. It was a suicide mission dressed up as strategy. Hyunwoo packed his gear and recorded a message for his sister. He told Bo-Ra he loved her. He told her to be strong. He did not tell her he was probably going to die. The Vrelian Armada began its attack 2 days later. The colony world of Nova Hope was first. 5 million humans lived there. They had 48 hours to evacuate. Only half of them made it off planet before the bombardment began. Captain Taewoo watched from his cell as the aliens celebrated their first victory. They cheered and roared, confident in their power. They believed humanity would fall within weeks. None of them knew about the 12 soldiers already behind their lines. None of them knew about Hyunwoo, who was at that very moment stealing a Vrelian supply ship and heading deeper into enemy territory. The war had begun, and humanity was going to fight in ways the galaxy had never seen before. 3 weeks passed, and the Vrelian offensive should have been unstoppable. Their massive fleet had crushed 2 more human colonies and was pushing toward the inner systems. But something was wrong, something the Vrelian commanders could not explain. General Voshitar stood in the command center of his flagship, staring at reports that made no sense. Explain this to me again, he said to his intelligence officer. The officer's scales turned a nervous shade of blue. Sir, we've lost contact with 17 supply convoys in the past week. When we sent search teams, we found the ships destroyed, engines melted, navigation systems fried. No survivors. Enemy fleet action? Voshitar asked. No, sir. Scans show no evidence of human warships in those sectors. Whatever hit them was small. Maybe a single fighter craft. Voshitar's 4 eyes narrowed. One ship did all this? We don't know, sir. But there's more. 3 communication relay stations have gone dark. 2 fuel depots exploded. And yesterday someone hacked into our tactical network and stole our fleet deployment schedules. This was impossible. The Vrelians were the masters of warfare. They had conquered 40 star systems. They had technology humans could barely understand. How could one ship cause so much damage? Find whoever is doing this, Voshitar growled. And kill them. But the attacks continued. In the 4th week, an ammunition depot serving 5 battle groups detonated, creating a fireball that could be seen from 3 planets. In the 5th week, the flagship of the 3rd Fleet lost power and drifted for 6 hours before auxiliary systems came online. Someone had planted a virus in their computer core. The War Council convened again. This time there was no celebration. The alien leaders sat in tense silence as Krathnoon addressed them. Our advance has stalled, the Supreme Overlord said. Each word dripped with barely controlled rage. The humans are using guerrilla tactics, hitting our supply lines, disrupting our communications. They fight without honor. A reptilian delegate spoke up. Perhaps we underestimated them. Krathnoon's eyes flashed red. Impossible. They are primitives. Yes, they have some clever tricks, but they cannot defeat us. I have ordered our forces to increase security. This minor problem will be solved. But in his private chambers, Krathnoon was not so confident. His intelligence report spoke of something disturbing. Multiple sources reported sightings of a single human soldier appearing across 7 different star systems. The same soldier, moving alone, striking without warning and vanishing like smoke. The Vrelians called him the Ghost. Other species had their own names. But all of them were afraid. That ghost was Hyunwoo. He had spent the first week just learning how to survive in enemy territory. The stolen Vrelian ship had gotten him deep into their space, but then he had to abandon it before they traced the theft. After that, he lived in the shadows. Hyunwoo discovered something important. Aliens were not like humans. Most species in the galaxy needed 8 to 12 hours of sleep every day. Humans could function on 4 or 5 hours at least for a while. Most aliens had to eat specific foods or they got sick. Humans could eat almost anything organic and survive. Most importantly, aliens never worked alone. They always moved in groups, always stayed connected to their command structure, always followed protocols. The idea of one soldier operating independently for weeks seemed insane to them. That was Hyunwoo's advantage. He slept in abandoned cargo containers and empty service tunnels. He stole food from supply ships. He learned the alien languages by listening to their communications. His training had taught him to blend in, to move quietly, to kill efficiently. But living like this for weeks required something more than training. It required stubbornness. It required refusing to quit even when your body screamed for rest. Humans were very good at refusing to quit. In the 6th week, Hyunwoo hit his biggest target yet. A Vrelian command carrier was docked at a repair station for maintenance. The ship controlled 6 battle groups and carried the tactical data for the entire Eastern Offensive. Hyunwoo spent 3 days studying the station's security. He learned the guard rotations, the sensor blind spots, the shift changes. Then he waited for his moment. The station's environmental systems were designed for Vrelian biology. They filtered the air to specific temperature and humidity levels. But the filters had to be cleaned regularly, and the maintenance crews were lazy. Hyunwoo crawled through the ductwork, moving through spaces barely wide enough for a human. A Vrelian would never fit. He reached the command carrier's data core at 300 station time. The guards were tired, thinking about the end of their shift. Hyunwoo moved like a shadow. His knife was silent. The guards died without raising an alarm. The data core was protected by encryption that would take a human hacker weeks to break. Hyunwoo did not try to break it. He planted 12 thermal charges around the core and set them for a 15-minute delay. Then he stole 3 data chips from a nearby console and left the way he came. The explosion destroyed not just the data core, but the entire server room. The command carrier's brain was melted slag. 6 battle groups suddenly had no orders, no coordination, no tactical information. The offensive in the eastern sector ground to a halt. Hyunwoo was already 2 systems away before they even knew he had been there. Back on Earth, Commander Jiwoo tracked every report of disruption in enemy territory. She could not communicate with Hyunwoo directly. Radio silence was essential, but she could see his work in the intelligence reports and the gaps appearing in enemy formations, in the paranoia spreading through their ranks. "He's still alive," she said to her staff, "and he's driving them crazy." One of her officers looked worried. "Commander, even if he succeeds in disrupting their operations, we're still outnumbered. We've lost 4 colonies. Our fleet can't hold much longer." "I know," Jiwoo said, "but every day we survive is another day to build ships, train crews, and prepare our defenses. Hyunwoo is buying us time. We have to make it count." She thought about the young lieutenant who had volunteered for this mission. She had approved his target change personally, knowing it was probably a death sentence. But desperate times require desperate measures. If there was even a small chance he could reach Krath Noon, they had to take it. Hyunwoo received her message through a dead drop in the 8th week. It was encoded in a maintenance log on a civilian station, hidden where only he would think to look. The message was simple. Primary target location confirmed. War Council Station, Delta Sector. Proceed when ready. He studied the intelligence data carefully. The War Council Station was a fortress. 3 full fleets guarded it. The station itself had enough weapons to destroy a small moon. Security was tight. Visitors were screened multiple times. It was designed to be impregnable, but impregnable defenses were built to stop armies, not individuals. They were designed for big threats, not small ones. That was their weakness. Hyunwoo began planning his infiltration. It would take time. He would need to steal the right credentials, find the right disguise, learn the right protocols. He would need to become invisible. In the 9th week, something happened that changed everything. Hyunwoo intercepted a Vrelian communication that mentioned Captain Taewoo. The captured scout was still alive, held prisoner on the War Council station itself. The Vrelians were keeping him as a trophy, proof of their dominance over humanity. Hyunwoo made a decision. His mission was to kill Krathnoon. That had not changed, but if he could rescue Taewoo in the process, he would. One more human survivor was worth the extra risk. He sent one final message back to Earth through the dead drop network. It would take weeks to reach Commander Jiwoo, but he wanted her to know his plan. The message said, "Going dark. Infiltrating primary target. If you don't hear from me in 60 days, assume mission failure. Tell Bora I tried." Then he erased all traces of his communication and began the most dangerous part of his mission. The Vrelians had a servant caste, smaller and weaker than the warrior class. These servants did menial labor throughout the empire. Nobody paid attention to them. Nobody looked at them closely. They were invisible. Hyunwoo killed a servant worker at a remote mining station and stole his identity. He used synthetic skin to hide his human features and wore a breathing apparatus that was common among the servant caste. He practiced their posture, their walk, their submissive body language. When he looked in the mirror, he saw a Vrelian servant. The disguise would not hold up under close inspection, but it did not need to. It just needed to get him onto the station. In the 10th week, Hyunwoo arrived at the War Council station on a supply ship. He carried cleaning equipment and a work order assigning him to maintenance duty. The guards barely glanced at him as he passed through security. To them, he was just another invisible servant. He was inside. For 6 days, Hyunwoo cleaned floors and emptied trash. He kept his head down and his movements small. He learned the layout of the station, the security patterns, the blind spots in surveillance. Most importantly, he learned where Krathnoon's private chambers were located. The Supreme Overlord had a ritual. Every night at midnight, he meditated alone in his sanctum. It was a tradition among Vrelian rulers, a moment of peace before the violence of command. The sanctum was guarded, but the guards stood outside. For 1 hour, Krathnoon was alone. That would be Hyunwoo's window. The ventilation shaft was cramped and dark. Hyunwoo crawled through it slowly, his breathing controlled despite the tight space pressing against his shoulders. His stolen servant disguise was gone now, replaced by a black tactical suit that helped him blend into shadows. The ceremonial blade was strapped to his back. He had been crawling for 30 minutes, following a route he had memorized during his week of observation. The ventilation system was designed to carry air through the massive station, but it was also designed for machines to service it, not people. Most of the galaxy's species were too large to fit through these narrow passages. Humans were smaller, more flexible, another advantage he was about to exploit. The shaft ended at a grate overlooking a corridor. Through the slits, Hyunwoo could see 2 guards standing outside a large door. That door led to Krathnoon's private sanctum. The Supreme Overlord would be meditating inside, alone as always. Hyunwoo checked his chronometer. 11:45. In 15 minutes, the guards would change shifts. That was when he would move. He had spent the past week learning everything about Krathnoon that he could. The Supreme Overlord was 300 years old, ancient by Vrelian standards. In his youth, he had been a warrior of legendary skill, conquering systems through personal combat as much as through strategy. But age had slowed him. His reflexes were not what they once were. His strength had faded. The Vrelians worshipped power and strength above all else. Their culture valued warriors who could crush their enemies in direct combat. But Krathnoon ruled through fear and political control now, not through personal might. Many younger Vrelians whispered that he was weak, but none dared challenge him openly. Hyunwoo did not care about Vrelian politics. He only cared that Krathnoon was mortal and could be killed. The chronometer showed midnight. The guards straightened as their relief arrived. They exchanged brief words, then the old guards walked away. The new guards took their positions, settling in for a long, boring watch. They expected nothing. This was the safest place in the galaxy. Who would attack here? Hyunwoo waited 5 more minutes. He needed the guards to relax, to fall into their routine. Then he removed the grate silently and dropped into the corridor behind them. His knife was in his hand before his feet touched the floor. The first guard never knew what happened. The blade found the gap in his armor at the neck, cutting through vital arteries. Hyunwoo caught the body as it fell, lowering it silently. The second guard turned at the sound of movement. His eyes went wide when he saw a human standing there. He opened his mouth to shout. Hyunwoo's knife flew through the air and buried itself in the guard's throat. The shout became a wet gurgle. The guard collapsed. Hyunwoo pulled his knife free and wiped it clean. His hands were steady. He had done this kind of work before. Quick, efficient, necessary. The door to the sanctum was locked with a biometric scanner. Hyunwoo pressed the dead guard's hand against it. The lock clicked open. Inside, the sanctum was surprisingly simple. The room was circular with walls made of polished black stone. In the center, sitting cross-legged on a raised platform, was Krath Noon. The Supreme Overlord's eyes opened. He looked at Hyunwoo without apparent surprise. "A human," Krath Noon said in a deep voice. "I wondered when one of you would try." Hyunwoo said nothing. He walked forward slowly, blade ready. Krath Noon stood up. He was massive, nearly 8 feet tall, his body covered in the black armor that seemed to grow from his skin. "You killed my guards. You infiltrated my station. You came all this way to kill me. I should be impressed." "I don't need you to be impressed," Hyunwoo said. "I just need you dead," Krath Noon laughed. It was a harsh, grinding sound. "Do you know how many have tried to kill me?" "Hundreds, thousands, all of them failed. What makes you think you will succeed?" "Because I'm human," Hyunwoo said. "And we don't know when to quit." He attacked. The fight was brutal. Krath Noon might have been old, but he was still dangerous. His armored fist swung at Hyunwoo's head with enough force to crush a skull. Hyunwoo ducked under it and slashed at the Overlord's leg, but the blade barely scratched the natural armor. Krath Noon kicked out. His foot caught Hyunwoo in the chest and sent him flying across the room. Hyunwoo hit the wall hard enough to crack the stone. Pain exploded through his ribs. At least 2 were broken. He forced himself to stand. Pain was just a signal. He could ignore signals, Krath Noon charged. Hyunwoo rolled aside at the last second. The Overlord crashed into the wall where he had been standing. Hyunwoo jumped onto Krath Noon's back and drove his knife down toward the gap where the helmet met the neck. The blade struck armor and glanced off. Krath Noon reached back with one massive hand and grabbed Hyunwoo, throwing him to the ground. Hyunwoo felt another rib crack. Blood filled his mouth. "You're brave," Krath Noon said, standing over him. "But bravery means nothing without strength. Your species is weak. That is why you will die." Hyunwoo coughed blood and smiled. "We're weak? I'm one man. I destroyed 17 of your supply convoys. I blew up your command carrier's data core. I walked through your security like it wasn't even there. Imagine what 1,000,000 humans could do." For the first time, something like uncertainty crossed Krath Noon's face. Hyunwoo used that moment. He swept his leg out and knocked Krath Noon's feet from under him. The massive Overlord fell hard. Hyunwoo was on him instantly, knife seeking the weak points in the armor. He stabbed at joints, at gaps, at anywhere the natural armor was thin. Krath Noon roared and grabbed Hyunwoo's wrist. They struggled. The Overlord was stronger, but Hyunwoo was desperate. He smashed his forehead into Krath Noon's face. The helmet cracked. He did it again. And again the helmet shattered. Krath Noon's true face was revealed. Gray skin, multiple eyes, a mouthful of sharp teeth. Those teeth snapped at Hyunwoo's throat. Hyunwoo jerked his head back just in time. He freed his knife hand and drove the blade into one of Krath Noon's eyes. The Overlord screamed. His grip loosened. Hyunwoo pulled the blade free and stabbed again, and again. He aimed for the throat, for the other eyes, for anything soft. Blood sprayed across his face. His own blood mixed with alien blood. Everything was red and wet and desperate. Krath Noon's movements became slower, weaker. The Supreme Overlord, who had ruled the galaxy through fear, was dying at the hands of a single human soldier. "This is impossible," Krath Noon whispered. "You cannot—" "Yes, I can," Hyunwoo said. He drove the knife into Krath Noon's throat one final time and twisted. "Because I'm human, and humans don't give up." Krath Noon's body shuddered, then went still. Hyunwoo knelt over the corpse, breathing hard. Every part of his body hurt. His ribs were broken. His left arm was barely functional. Blood ran from a dozen cuts. But he was alive, and Krath Noon was dead. He pulled out the ceremonial blade he had stolen. Vrelian culture said that a warrior who defeated an enemy in single combat could claim a trophy. Hyunwoo did not care about Vrelian culture, but he needed proof. He needed the galaxy to see what had happened here. He raised the blade and brought it down. It took several cuts. The biological armor was tough even in death, but eventually the head came free. Hyunwoo held it up, looking into the dead eyes. "One down," he said. "The rest of you are next." He wrapped the head in cloth torn from his tactical suit and secured it to his belt. Then he moved to the door. The sanctum's walls had blocked any sound from the fight, but now he had to get out of the station. That would be the hard part. He dragged the guards' bodies inside the sanctum and closed the door. It would not fool anyone for long, but it might buy him a few minutes. Every minute counted. Hyunwoo made his way through the corridors. His disguise was gone. He looked like exactly what he was, a human soldier covered in blood. If anyone saw him, the alarm would sound immediately. He moved through maintenance tunnels and service corridors, places where servants worked but warriors rarely went. His broken ribs made breathing painful. His damaged arm hung uselessly at his side, but he kept moving. Stopping meant death. He reached the docking bay where cargo ships came and went. A small transport was being loaded with supplies. Perfect. Hyunwoo waited until the loading crew took a break, then slipped aboard. The ship's cargo hold was full of food containers and equipment. He hid among them, cramming his body into a space barely large enough to hold him, the head of Krathnoon pressed against his back. The irony was not lost on him. He was smuggling the galaxy's most powerful ruler out of his own station like a piece of cargo. The ship departed an hour later. Hyunwoo felt the engines engage, felt the slight shift as they left the station's artificial gravity. He waited. Every minute that passed without an alarm was a small victory. After 3 hours, the ship jumped to faster-than-light speed. They were away from the station. Hyunwoo allowed himself to relax slightly. The immediate danger was past, but the mission was not over. Not yet. He needed to get back to the War Council. He needed to walk into that chamber where the aliens had sentenced humanity to death. He needed to show them what humans could do. He needed to change the course of the war, and he needed to do it soon. Before his broken body gave out, before infection set in, before his luck ran out. Hyunwoo closed his eyes and let the ship carry him toward his destination. He thought about Bora, about Commander Jiwoo. The War Council was in full session when Hyunwoo arrived back at the station. 50 delegates from across the galaxy sat in their assigned seats discussing how to finish destroying humanity. Holographic displays showed human colony worlds marked for bombardment. Casualty estimates scrolled across screens. They were planning genocide with the efficiency of accountants balancing books. General Voshitar was presenting the invasion schedule. "We will strike Earth's orbital defenses first," he said, pointing to a 3-dimensional map of humanity's home system. "Then we will bombard the major cities. Total extinction should be achieved within 30 days. The delegates nodded. Some made notes. Others simply watched with cold satisfaction. None of them knew that the supreme overlord they served was dead. His death had not been discovered yet. Hyunwoo had made sure of that. In the cargo bay below the council chamber, Hyunwoo moved through the shadows. He had hidden aboard a supply ship that serviced the station just like before. But this time he was not here to hide. This time he was here to make an entrance. His body was failing. The injuries from his fight with Krathnoon had gotten worse during the journey. His broken ribs made every breath agony. Infection had set into the wounds on his arm. Fever made his vision blur. By all rights, he should be dead or unconscious, but humans had a strange ability to keep moving when they should be done. Pain was just information. Exhaustion was just a feeling. Death could wait until the job was finished. Hyunwoo had spent the last 3 days preparing for this moment. He had planted small explosive charges throughout the station during his previous visit. Not enough to destroy the station, but enough to make a point. He had hacked into the main computer and set up a program that would broadcast his message to every screen in the galaxy. And he had planned his route from the cargo bay to the council chamber. Now it was time. He triggered the first set of explosives. They detonated in the outer docking ring, destroying empty storage bays. Alarms began to scream. Security forces rushed toward the explosion site, exactly as planned. While they were distracted, Hyunwoo moved toward the council chamber. He walked openly now, no longer hiding. His black tactical suit was torn and stained with blood, both human blood and alien blood. He carried Krathnoon's head in one hand. In the other hand, he held a detonator. Guards saw him and shouted warnings. They raised their weapons. Hyunwoo held up the detonator where they could see it. "I have charges planted all over this station," he said in perfect Vrelian. "Shoot me and we all die." The guards hesitated. Their training said to eliminate threats, but their survival instinct said to be careful around explosives. That moment of hesitation was all Hyunwoo needed. He walked past them toward the council chamber doors. More guards appeared. Hyunwoo triggered another set of explosives, this time closer to the council chamber. The blast shook the entire level. Emergency lights flashed. The guards backed away. "Open the doors," Hyunwoo said, "or I blow the next charges inside the chamber itself." The guards looked at each other. None of them wanted to make that decision. Finally, one of them opened the chamber doors. Hyunwoo walked through. The council chamber fell silent as every delegate turned to look at him. They saw a human, bloodied and battered, walking toward them with something wrapped in cloth. General Voshtar stood frozen at his presentation podium. Several delegates reached for weapons. Others simply stared in shock. No one moved to stop him as Hyunwoo walked down the central aisle toward the main council table. His footsteps echoed in the sudden silence. Pain radiated through his entire body with each step, but he kept his face calm. He would not show weakness, not here, not now. He reached the center of the chamber where Krathnoon's throne sat empty. The Supreme Overlord's seat was carved from a single piece of black stone, polished smooth over centuries. It represented power. It represented control. It represented everything the aliens believed about their superiority. Hyunwoo unwrapped the cloth bundle and placed Krathnoon's severed head on the council table. He set it down gently, almost respectfully. Then he stepped back. The chamber erupted in chaos. Aliens shouted in a dozen different languages. Several stood up so quickly their chairs fell over. One delegate fainted. Another began making a high-pitched keening sound. General Voshtar stared at the head with all four of his eyes. His scales had turned completely white with shock. That's impossible," he whispered. Hyunwoo looked around the chamber slowly, meeting the eyes of every delegate who dared to look at him. When he spoke, his voice was steady and clear. "Humanity declines your offer of extinction." More shouting. A reptilian warrior drew his weapon and charged at Hyunwoo. 3 other guards tackled the warrior before he could fire. They knew about the explosives. They knew one wrong move could kill everyone. Hyunwoo held up the detonator again. The chamber fell silent once more. "I want you all to understand something," he said. "I am one human, just one. I walked through your security like it didn't exist. I lived among you for weeks and you never noticed. I killed the most powerful being in the galaxy with my bare hands, and I could have destroyed this entire station if I wanted to." He paused to let that sink in. Several delegates were backing toward the exits. Others looked like they wanted to attack but were afraid. "You sentenced humanity to death because you thought we were weak," Hyunwoo continued. "You thought our technology made us dangerous but that we could be easily crushed. You were wrong. It's not our ships you should fear. It's not our weapons, it's us. Humans don't surrender. We don't know when to quit. You can beat us down and we get back up. You can hurt us and we keep fighting. You can kill some of us, but you cannot kill all of us. And we will make you pay for every human life you take." General Voshtar found his voice. "You are just one soldier. One man cannot stop our entire military." Hyunwoo smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. "You're right. I'm just one man. Now imagine 1,000,000 more like me. Imagine 10 million. Imagine an entire species that refuses to die quietly. Is that a war you really want to fight?" He activated his secondary program. Every screen in the chamber came alive. Every display across the station, across every Vrelian ship, across the entire communication network, showed the same image. Hyunwoo standing in the council chamber, Krathnoon's head on the table, and scrolling beneath it a message in every major galactic language. "The Supreme Overlord is dead, killed by a single human soldier. Reconsider your war." The broadcast went out to every system in the galaxy. Every species would see it. Every government would receive the message. The most powerful ruler the galaxy had known in centuries was dead, killed by the very species he had tried to exterminate. The political implications were enormous. The Vrelian Empire would descend into chaos as various factions fought for control. The other species would recalculate their alliances. The entire power structure of the galaxy had just shifted. And, standing at the center of it all was one human, soldier who looked like he might collapse at any moment but refused to fall. Insectoid delegate spoke up. "What do you want, human?" "Peace," Hyunwoo said. "Real peace. Not surrender, not servitude. Equal standing. Humanity joins the Galactic Order as partners, not subjects. Our colonies remain ours. Our government remains independent. In exchange, we stop this war and start talking. And if we refuse? Asked another delegate. Hyunwoo gestured to Krathnoon's head. Then I guess we see if you have better luck than he did. But I should warn you, there are 11 other soldiers like me out there right now, working behind your lines. And back on Earth, there are millions more training to follow us. We can do this the easy way or the hard way. Your choice. The delegates began arguing among themselves. Some wanted to attack Hyunwoo immediately. Consequences be damned. Others were already calculating political advantages. A few looked genuinely frightened. Through it all, Hyunwoo stood still. His finger remained on the detonator. His expression remained calm. Inside, he was counting seconds. His vision was getting darker. The fever was getting worse. He was running on pure willpower now, and even that was running out. But he had done it. He had delivered his message. He had shown the galaxy that humanity would not go quietly. Captain Taewoo, watching from his cell, saw the broadcast and felt tears stream down his face. His species had a chance now. A real chance. On Earth, Commander Jiwoo saw the broadcast and immediately called an emergency meeting with the president. Hyunwoo had done the impossible. Now they had to back up his threat with real negotiating power. And in a small apartment on Earth, a young woman named Bora saw her brother on every screen. She saw how hurt he was. She saw the determination in his eyes. She pressed her hand to the screen and whispered, "Come home. Please come home." In the council chamber, a delegate from a crystalline species stood up. "I move that we enter immediate negotiations with the human government. All offensive operations to cease pending talks." "Seconded," said another delegate quickly. The vote was not unanimous, but it passed. 17 species voted yes. 8 voted no. The rest abstained. It was enough. General Voshitar looked at Hyunwoo with something that might have been respect. "You win this round, human. But do not think this is over." "It's over when we say it's over," Hyunwoo replied. Hyunwoo woke up in a medical bay. White lights hurt his eyes. The smell of antiseptic filled his nose. For a moment, he did not know where he was. Then memories flooded back. The council chamber. Krathnoon's head. The vote collapsing. "Easy," said a voice beside him. "Don't try to move yet." He turned his head slowly. Captain Taewoo sat in a chair next to the bed, looking cleaner and healthier than the last time Hyunwoo had seen him. "Where are we?" Hyunwoo asked. His voice was rough. "Human medical frigate 3 days out from the War Council station. You've been unconscious for 72 hours. The doctor said you nearly died. Broken ribs, internal bleeding, severe infection, and complete physical exhaustion. They're amazed you were standing at all." Hyunwoo tried to sit up. Pain shot through his chest. He stopped moving. "I said don't try to move," Taewoo repeated. "You've got another week of recovery before they'll let you out of bed." Commander Jiwoo's orders. "Jiwoo? She's here?" "She's on Earth coordinating the peace talks. But she's been in contact every day checking on you." Taewoo smiled. "You're kind of a big deal right now. What you did back there, it changed everything." Hyunwoo closed his eyes. "What's the situation?" "Well, let's see. The Vrelian Empire collapsed into civil war about 6 hours after you killed Krathnoon. 5 different generals are fighting for control. 3 other species have withdrawn their fleets entirely. 4 more are negotiating with Earth for separate peace treaties. The War Council is in chaos, and humanity just got a seat at the galactic table, so it worked. It worked. You crazy suicidal maniac, it actually worked." They sat in silence for a moment. Then Hyunwoo asked the question that had been weighing on him. "How many did we lose?" "While I was gone?" Taewoo's smile faded. 4 colonies. Approximately 15 million civilian casualties. 8,000 military deaths. 300 ships destroyed. 15 million. Hyunwoo felt the weight of that number settle on his chest, heavier than any of his injuries. 15 million people dead while he was playing ghost behind enemy lines. "Hey," Taewoo said quietly. "Don't do that. Don't blame yourself. You saved billions, maybe our entire species. Those people who died, they bought time for you to complete your mission. Their sacrifice mattered." Hyunwoo wanted to believe that. He really did. The door opened and a doctor entered, followed by someone Hyunwoo had not expected to see. His sister Bora stood in the doorway. Her eyes were red from crying. "You have 5 minutes," the doctor said. "He needs rest." Bora rushed to the bedside. She grabbed Hyunwoo's hand and held it tight. Words failed her. She just cried. Hey, Yunwu said softly. I'm okay. I'm here, you idiot, Bora said through tears. You complete idiot. I watched you on every screen in the galaxy. I saw how hurt you were. I thought you were going to die right there in front of everyone. I almost did. Don't joke about that. She hit his shoulder lightly, then immediately looked horrified. Oh no, did I hurt you? Despite everything, Hyunwoo laughed. It hurt his ribs, but he could not help it. I'm fine, really. They talked until the doctor came back and kicked everyone out. Bora made Hyunwoo promise to rest. Taewoo promised to keep him updated on the negotiations. Then they left, and Hyunwoo was alone with his thoughts. The peace talks took 3 weeks. Commander Jiwoo led the human delegation with skill that impressed even the alien diplomats. She had learned from what Hyunwoo did. She used the same approach. She was firm. She was clear. She made no apologies for humanity's strength. The Treaty of Meridian was signed on the War Council station, in the same chamber where Hyunwoo had made his dramatic entrance. The terms were simple. All human colonies would remain under human control. No alien species could claim human territory without permission. Humanity would have full representation on the Galactic Council. Trade would be established on equal terms, and most importantly, humanity would be recognized as a sovereign species with all the rights that entailed. In exchange, humanity agreed to share some of its technology and to participate in galactic peacekeeping efforts. They would become part of the larger community, but on their own terms. The alien delegates signed reluctantly, some because they genuinely wanted peace, others because they were afraid of what humanity might do if pushed. Fear and respect had become intertwined when it came to humans. Hyunwoo was still recovering when the treaty was signed. He watched the ceremony from his hospital bed. When the last signature was placed on the document, he finally allowed himself to relax. The mission was truly over. 2 weeks later, he was cleared to return to Earth. The doctor said he would carry scars from his injuries for the rest of his life. Some physical, some not, but he would survive. The transport ship that brought him home was met by crowds at the landing site. Thousands of people wanted to see the soldier who had saved humanity. Hyunwoo hated the attention. He had just done his job. Other soldiers had fought too. Other people had sacrificed just as much. But Commander Jiwoo told him to accept it gracefully. They need a hero, she said. Let them have this. There was a ceremony. The president gave him medals. General shook his hand. News cameras recorded everything. Hyunwoo stood through it all with his sister beside him, wishing it would end. The real moment came later in a quiet office where Jiwoo had asked to meet him privately. How are you really doing? She asked. Hyunwoo thought about lying, then decided against it. I have nightmares. I see Krafnoon's face. I think about the 15 million who died. I wonder if there was a better way. Jiwoo nodded. That's normal. The guilt of survival. The weight of command decisions. I feel it too. Every single day, does it get better? No, she said honestly. But you learn to carry it. And you remember that your actions saved billions. That has to be enough. They talked for an hour. Not about strategy or politics, but about the cost of war. About the burden of difficult choices. About how to live with the things they had done. When Hyunwoo left her office, he felt a little lighter. Not healed, but better. Understanding that he was not alone in his struggles helped. 3 months after the treaty was signed, the first session of the new Galactic Council took place. This time, humans were seated at the main table. Not in cells, not as prisoners, as equals. The human representative was a woman named Soo-jin. She was a career diplomat who had spent years studying alien cultures. She understood the complex politics of the galaxy better than anyone. More importantly, she understood that humanity now held real power. The session began with the usual bureaucratic matters. Trade agreements, border disputes, resource allocation. Boring, normal things that meant the galaxy was at peace. But there was a new tension in the chamber. Every alien delegate was aware of the humans among them. Every species had adjusted their calculations to account for this new power. The humans who had been dismissed as primitives just months ago were now treated with careful respect. During a break, Soo-jin walked past the spot where Krafnoon's head had been placed. It was gone now, removed and cremated according to Vrelian customs. But there was a plaque on the wall. It had been placed there by the council itself, a reminder of what had happened. The plaque was simple. It read in 12 different languages. Underestimate humanity at your peril. Sujin smiled at it. Then she returned to her seat and got back to work. This was the new reality. Humans were here. Humans were staying. And the galaxy would have to adjust. Back on Earth, life continued. Colonies were rebuilt. New ships were constructed. The military remained strong, but the focus was shifting to exploration and trade rather than survival. Hyun-woo retired from active service. He had done his part. Now he wanted to rest. He bought a small house in the countryside with Bo-ra. They lived quietly, growing vegetables and watching sunsets. Sometimes reporters would find him and ask for interviews. He always declined politely. His story had been told enough. Others could be the heroes now. One evening, Captain Tae-woo came to visit. He had been promoted to major and was now training the next generation of special operations soldiers. They call your mission the impossible operation at the academy, Tae-woo said as they sat on the porch. Every cadet studies what you did, how you survived alone, how you adapted, how you completed an objective that should have been suicide. I hope they learn the right lessons, Hyun-woo said. What lessons would those be? Hyun-woo thought for a moment. That sometimes you have to do the impossible. That giving up is not an option. That one person can change everything if they refuse to quit. And that victory often costs more than you expect to pay. Tae-woo nodded. They're learning all of that and more. Because of you, humanity has a future. That's worth remembering. As the sun set, painting the sky in shades of orange and red, Hyun-woo thought about the path that had led him here. The violence, the pain, the impossible choices, but also the survival, the peace, the future that now existed because he had refused to fail. The galaxy had learned what one human could do when pushed to the limit. They had learned that humanity did not surrender, that they endured, that they fought back. But more importantly, humanity had learned something about themselves. They were not weak. They were not inferior. They belonged among the stars, not as servants, but as equals. And anyone who tried to take that away from them would face the same lesson Krath Noon had learned.